Now we're going to turn to Detroit's schools, which are still recovering from the deep wounds of systemic neglect, redlining, segregation, and a crash in city revenue starved schools of resources. Meanwhile, state funding for Detroit continues to lag behind wealthier districts. Over the years, control of Detroit schools has taken many turns that have added to the trauma. First, it was mayoral control, and later, state-appointed emergency managers. These interventions were supposed to help, but they often made things worse. Through it all, poverty has entrenched itself in the households of many Detroit students. Housing instability, unreliable transportation, and inaccessible health care have added trauma on top of trauma. And then came the pandemic. That wiped out precious early learning time. But like the city itself, Detroit schools have been steadily rising. The latest glimmer is the new M-STEP results. Michigan's standardized tests show Detroit's third graders reading at their best level in over a decade. Still, only about 13% reached proficiency. That's compared to nearly 39% statewide. So what do these modest gains really mean? And how can they last? To answer these questions, I'm joined by Dr. Nikolai Vitti, Superintendent of Detroit Public Schools Community District. Dr. Vitti, thank you for joining me on the Metro.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the M-STEP standardized test results that just came out. What should we make of them?
Well, I think they definitely indicate that we're improving, and I think that's been our goal from the beginning. When I came and became superintendent, I talked about we have to always acknowledge the past. We have to acknowledge our challenges. A lot of what you talked about in your intro, but our students deserve better, and our students deserve our high expectation for their improvement. And we have to own improvement. That's what I've said from the beginning. Whether it's my central office staff, principals, teachers, support staff, we have to own improvement. And I think that messaging has resonated. It's not expecting to go 0 to 100. It's expecting incremental, sizable improvement, and that's what we're seeing, which means that the system is improving. And it's always been about how does the system, a public institution, better serve our most vulnerable kids. And the system is showing that it is improving. And I think that should signal to Detroiters, to our families, to those outside, to those that don't believe, that this system can support children better academically. We've always supported children from a social emotional level, and we're doing even that better. But at the end of the day, regardless of the indicator you're looking at, literacy, math, science, social studies, SAT, not only are we improving, but I think the other important point is we're improving at a faster clip than the state of Michigan. Detroit only makes up about 3% of the overall state average. So as the state is stagnant, or the state's declining, or the state's minimally improving, over the years, from beginning of after emergency management to now, every year, including this most recent year, we've shown more improvement than the state, or as the state's declined, we've improved. So the gap between DPSCD and Michigan is narrowing. And this also means we're doing something better and differently, whether you're talking about literacy, math, science, or social studies. And I think that's what's exciting, and the challenge now is accelerating that.
I want to zoom in on the system aspect that you're talking about, because one thing that seems to have really bolstered the scaffolding is the literacy lawsuit money. So in 2020, Michigan settled the right to read lawsuit with Detroit schools. The deal sent $94.4 million to the district to be spent over 3 years. Can we connect that money directly to the reading improvements that we're seeing now?
Not yet. Because M-STEP is focused more on grades 3 to 7, and then the PSAT and the SAT on grades 9 to 11. What we can say after 1 year of implementation of the literacy lawsuit funding is we're seeing large improvement in the K-2 space. That's where the investment was mainly made, in hiring academic interventionists, which are college degreed individuals that work in one-on-one small group with students K through 2. These are students that are 2 or more grade levels behind. And so our students get the regular core instruction from their teacher, and then as we move into small group, they're pulled out of the classroom where the interventionists go in. Interventionists are highly trained in the multisensory approach to literacy with a focus on the science of reading, focus on phonemic awareness, phonics, blending, decoding. And last year, K2, not defined on MSTEP, but on our internal assessments, we saw a 7 percentage point improvement in children performing at or above grade level in grades K to 2. So what this means is what we should see this year for the 25-26 year, this year's third graders should do better than last year's third graders. And in the next couple of years, our third graders, as they take MSTEP, will do better than previous third graders because they had better and more support in the foundational skills at the K2 level.
So what I'm hearing from you, Dr. Vitti, is you place very high value on these academic interventionists and what they can do in terms of building literacy rates in Detroit schools. I mean, the district hired over 200 of them, correct?
That's right. Yep. And we've always, our model of improvement incorporated the academic interventionists, but they were mainly working with students in grades 3, 4, and 5. Mm-hmm. And we funded that out of Title I, which is federal funding. So with this literacy lawsuit, we said, well, we're seeing improvement in grades 3, 4, and 5, but let's get to the work with the kids earlier, where the gap is narrower, opportunity to build that skill set faster to be more ready in third grade. So the data is exciting. When we look at, we call it the iReady assessment, which is internal. There's other large urban school districts that participate in that as well. And you take a sample of some of those districts. The year before, we were pretty much last among 6 or 8 districts that are in large urban school districts. Now we're in the middle. Wow. In K2. So in only 1 year of investment with the AIs, we moved from bottom among those 6-8 comparison large urban students to the middle with a 7 percentage point improvement. You know, again, I've always said we don't have a talent gap, we have an opportunity gap. And that goes back to your opening. It's just about the right amount of funding, equitable funding, you know, not equal. We're not even at equal in Michigan. Let's get to equitable. So we have the extra resources to overcome concentration of poverty and history of racism in this country.
I want to look at some of the other issues that are affecting kids and their ability to become stronger readers. And I'm thinking about, you know, COVID was a huge hit to learning nationally. Kids were taken out of school. They're staying home. Their test scores plummeted. What part of fixing the reading gap for Detroit kids relies on parents and guardians at home to read with their kids? I mean, we know that literacy rates for adults in Detroit are very low. Half of folks in the city can't read. And so this sounds like a bigger task at hand when so much of the learning of the reading has to happen at school, and when kids come home, they're not able to continue that work in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the byproduct of the concentration of poverty in this country, that Detroit's one of the leading cities linked to that. And just the lack of educational attainment, and that trickles down to children. And so whether it's being read to, it's the number of words that you hear, it's expressing yourself in the home. All of that leads to education attainment and confidence. And so we see it right away when our kids come in kindergarten. Nearly 98% are not where they should be coming into kindergarten.
98%.
Yeah, give or take, it's about 98%, and way below the national average. So the catch-up game starts the first day of kindergarten. Now, going to pre-K can help that. You know, being a part of Head Start programs can help that, but most children do not participate in pre-K and Head Start, and so Those are very stark numbers, but the beauty of our work is catching children up, and we're doing that. You can see over the last 8 years, the amount of students 3 or grade levels below shrinking. You can see 2 grade levels below shrinking. You see more students above grade level, even in advanced, and that's a testament. Again, and I'll keep on repeating this, to the system. We often, in today's world, we're constantly criticizing public institutions for lots of different reasons, usually more political than anything else. Yeah. But we forget that the public school system is ultimately the only vehicle for children who are growing up in poverty to have a fighting chance in this international economy. If we don't invest in public education and we don't hold public education accountable, then there really is no way to lift children out of poverty. I mean, what chance do they get when their own parents likely struggled in school? They're dealing with regular economic, real issues that distract from engaging and supporting children at home. So if we're really serious about equal opportunity in this country, then we have to invest in the public school systems, and we have to hold them accountable to doing better, which we're showing. And I think that's more exciting than anything else, is to see the level of improvement. In no way is anyone in the system satisfied with where we are, but we're excited about the improvement, and we're excited about the promise of accelerating the improvement that we're seeing. It's exciting to have superintendents come to Detroit and learn what we're doing, understanding our intervention systems, our data systems, our curriculum, our leadership development. We're getting back to now being one of the most improved large urban school districts in the country. And so it's an exciting time, but it's also continues to be a challenging time.
I mean, something that I've gathered from the reporting that I've done on Detroit schools is that the district has been trying to take this holistic approach in acknowledging where kids are at, where they're coming from, and many of the systemic factors that we've been talking about, particularly high concentrations of poverty, and then what stems from that when it comes to things like transportation or accessing healthcare. Can you just briefly, we are running out of time here, but I wonder if you can connect the dots for us just a little bit more when it comes to seeing these rising scores and how you're trying to look at students and look at where they're coming from in a holistic fashion.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways we're doing that as a system, again, is the health hubs. I mean, the health hubs now, we'll have 10 this school year. These are spread out throughout the city, focused on the 12 feeder patterns within the city. They're mainly at high school, some at K-8, and we are offering through partners free access to healthcare, free access to vision screening and glasses, free healthcare access to dental screenings, mental health support for any DPSD child, but any DPSD family member. Last year, in a pantry for toiletries, help with evictions, just basic household needs, but 17,000 people accessed to health hubs last year in the city. 17,000. And so that's one way where we're trying to overcome the economic realities that get in the way of coming to school every day. We know that in DPSCD, if a student misses 18 or fewer days, they're 3 to 5 times more likely to be at and above grade level and to be college ready. So certainly, one of the other big challenges that we face is chronic absenteeism, which is directly linked to poverty. And so as we strengthen our partners, as we go deeper in the city to overcome some of these socioeconomic issues, we're also going to improve achievement just because we're doing better in the classrooms.
Dr. Vitti, in the last 30 seconds that we have here, we know Detroit is being described as a city on the rise, new buildings, new businesses, new investment. But can Detroit really have a rebirth without a rebirth of its public schools? I think we would both say the answer is no. So what else is it going to take for the district to be truly part of the city's comeback story in the last 30 seconds?
Well, everyone has to own the improvement process. You know, it's who you vote for president, who you vote for your senator, your House of Representatives, your governor, your mayor, your city council, then holding businesses accountable to investing in the city, investing in the school district. We're only going to get even better than we have been if the talent pool improves. And so, again, it's not a talent issue. It is an opportunity issue. And the gap has to be filled by investment in our children and our communities and our families.
Nikolai Vitti is the superintendent of Detroit Public Schools Community District. Dr. Vitti, thank you for joining me on the Metro.
Thank you.
This is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. And this is the Metro. Stay with us.